So here we go then. 5 seconds. Race 2.
Mark rounding coming up. It looks like the Danes and then Alberto Carrero. And there's battling with him. KGR is coming in. KGR Sushi Gin Tonic. It's the German.
Italian has it. They are off. There's a couple of early starts and a couple of penalties. One for the Dutch already.
On the inside, he can penalize Rausenlag, and he knows it.
Forcing, he's forcing the Spaniard out over to the right-hand side. You're going to see him manoeuvre now. He's going to jibe in, and it's a penalty to Lucas Moore.
How did that happen? I want to see that in replay afterwards. Hello, good evening, good morning, and a special good morning to some of you. Welcome to the eSailing Nations Cup, the last game of games in round 1. We're going to see Japan versus France. And my name is Thomas Bjørn Luthi, and I'm going to guide you through, but I'm not going to be all alone. In the commentary box with me, I have a dear friend of me. Please welcome Mr. Alec Wilkinson.
Yes, hello everyone, and indeed, good morning if you're watching in Japan. Your team is ready to go. And bonsoir if you're watching in France. Your team is also ready to go. The winner goes through to the quarterfinal. We're going to find out tonight the last of our quarterfinalists. So the pressure is up, the excitement is building, and let's just see the format and see who they will go through and race against next. So there we go. You can see them on the left-hand side of your screen. Japan against France. Japan seeded 8th, France seeded 9th. And they will face, it's going to be a really tough quarterfinal for the winner of tonight's match, because it's going to be Spain, the number 1 seed and arguably one of the best teams in the world. And that will conclude our quarterfinalists. So we've got Denmark against Sweden, Great Britain against Germany, and Italy will play the Netherlands. So that's where we are at. What is the format? If you're new to this eSailing Nations Cup, what is the format of tonight's regatta, Thomas?
Tonight's regatta is the fantastic format of the eSailing Nations Cup. We have 9 rounds. Round 1, 10 versus 10 in a 49. And round 2, a match race in between the 2 female players in a starboat. A match 3, 5 versus 5 in the laser, and so on. There will come 6 more races. And we're going to have a variety of different boats, and we're going to see 9 different, totally different races. And Alec, I want just to say, you said good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Yeah, the French might go to bed soon, and the Japanese just started very early. So who is doing the best tactic, going early up or going late to bed? And actually, it was the Japanese choosing the time, because they had the right to choose the time to play, and they could actually have played this game this afternoon instead of this evening. So interesting choice for the Japanese to play in the morning. And while we are saying the Japanese, let's hear from Vegas, one of the Japanese players, what he thinks about all this. And a warm welcome to the Japanese team, who's playing on the opposite side of the earth than we're doing here in Europe. And please welcome to Vegas. Vegas, can you tell a little bit about yourself and the team?
Okay, my boat name is Vegas. My name is Natsuki Matsura. I'm currently living in Tokyo. And I started VRI 5 months ago, I think. So it's, yeah, and we're here right now.
So I have seen a lot of Japanese sailors on the servers, and they are really performing well. How do you guys perform for the Nations Cup?
Okay. Well, I think Japanese community is right now growing because, of course, Sean Bond and KGR, they've been playing for long, but more than half of the players in the Japanese national team I think they have experience of less than half a year, like 6 months, 5 months, like same as me. So the key is we have to share our tactics, share our techniques to grow, to enhance our ability each other, not to have like individual skills, all that kind of things. We have to share and become a stronger team. So that's the key that we are working on right now, I think.
Yeah, and now you say share your skills, become a team. Tonight you're going to meet France. France is maybe the best individual team. It's one of the teams with most players in the top level. How do you see that game?
Yes, we admit that they have one of the highly skilled individual players in the world right now, and at the moment, I think if we compare them individually, of course we are pretty much behind them. But like what I said before, we share techniques, we work as a team, so that that kind of team tactics we are working on right now. So that kind of teamwork we have to improve and try to fight back against that kind of highly skilled individuals.
Yeah, and until now it's going quite well. We saw in the seedings that you guys are seeded 8 and France is seeded 9. So that was the first small victory for the Japanese team. Vegas, which boat are we going to see you in tonight, and which one is your favorite boat in the game?
My favorite boat is Laser, because I myself has very short experience. So compared to other top players who have been playing for years, I think the experience difference, like J70s or 49ers, the experience is kind of big, but the difference in the experience is kind of big. But in Laser, we have the same amount of experience. So I think that's the one that I like the most. And I'll be competing in 49er, Laser, and the Nacron tonight.
Oh, glad to hear. Best of luck tonight, and see you online later.
Thank you.
And Alec, that was the Japanese captain Vegas. And quite exciting what he told us about here, because he said they have really been practicing to play as a team. And now we come into different cultures, the Japanese culture versus the French culture, Alec.
And we will see which country performs better as a team, because the one thing we've learnt in the previous round one matches is that teamwork is everything. So here we go then. It's race 1 of 9 coming your way live right now. It's Japan against France, and it's in the 49er. And we start and finish the regatta with races involving all players. So it's a fleet of 20. It's 10 against 10. And it's fast and it's furious, and it's just great fun. It's a great warm-up, gets everyone involved. And the end race could be the decider. We shall see. They're seeded 8th and 9th. That suggests it's going to be close. Let's see how this works out. So they are almost at 0. They hit that line. They are across. It's race 1. It's go. It's the final round 1 race before the quarterfinals. And La Mer Noire, Sinjit, and Valentine Lisa of France get some good starts.
Yeah, but see, they also had a bad start with wins, 9-8. A very routine sailor that's in position 20 at the moment. But interesting, the most of the fleet that's having success is going to the left-hand side. But here we have the defending world champ, or not defending, the first world champ we had in the world, L1 in 9th. Pepito just qualified to the World Championship in 17th. But it's the players in the middle that are in control, Sinjit, Valentine Lisa.
Yeah, the French, on paper, really strong. Multiple World Championship finalists, a former world champion. They're hugely experienced. And France, it's safe to say, is the cradle of eSailing. And obviously where Virtual Regatta are based and were created. So France, you'd expect to be very, very strong. Japan, a lot of inexperienced sailors, but they are backed up by more experienced sailors. There's a handful of them that are helping the less experienced ones on the Japanese team. We shall see how this works out. And I'll tell you the scoring in a moment, but let's watch them come round this top mark now. And it looks like the French are dominating.
Yeah, it's a good French start. Sinjit in the lead, La Mer Noire in second, CS Valentine Lisa qualified to the World Championship this season in 3rd, L1 in 4th, Savnis in 5th, and then the Japanese comes in. Pepito or Vegas, the team captain, with a penalty to 05-17 from Japan. And when we are watching then Chambon, Alec, one of those Japanese sailors we know the most from the service, position 20.
Yeah, so France in the lead and dominant there, and already in a very strong position. So let me explain then, because this is going to be a very short downwind leg. That what we do is, if you're new to this, we will add up all the positions for each of the teams, and then it's the team with the lowest number that wins the point for this particular race.
Yeah, and Alec, let's try to hear Cube. He is with us also again today, our expert, sitting in studio. Let's try to hear him, what he says about overtaking in the downwind here, because right now it looks pretty hard for the Japanese.
Yeah, exactly. It's looking pretty hard, Thomas. As you can see on the radar, it's quite strange. We have this wind gust in the middle of the field, and well, both teams try to stick in the middle, and it's this conversation that you need to have with the wind. You need to talk with it, and you need to see, am I going for the middle, for the high winds, or am I going for the other team and trying to catch them?
Yeah, it's amazing. And the wind Cube is talking about, watch the radar in the top left corner. There you can see the dark area, if you're new to this game, is harder breeze. The light area is a smaller breeze, lighter wind. And right now it's again in the middle, and it's a dominant race by the French. And let's see how it goes, Alec. Do you think the Japanese can come back in this? France in 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 7th also.
Yeah, well, it's such a fast, short race that Japan are really running out of time. I think this is dominated now by the French. It's going to be difficult for the Japanese to get further up the fleet, really. And I suppose Seamanship and KGR and Japan 3717 are the only ones in a position to be able to make a difference.
Yeah, but again, we can also see here, this 49er race is more about individual skills. And then I can say KGR, he's the Japanese champion. Seamanship is their female player, and she got third in the Japanese championship. So that's the top players up there, Alec. So that's actually looking good for the Japanese team. And we know that the French were strong individually. So let's see how it goes when we come more to the more team rounds we are going to have in this format. Downwind action. It looks hard here. We are going downwind at the moment. We have to hear Cube what to do. You need to jump in here and tell us a little bit about, because the French are actually covering it quite well.
Yes, exactly. And the French have gotten a perfect lead with those 5 boats in the front. As long as the other 5 boats are not the 5 last of the game, they win. They win this match automatically. So they are in a quite comfortable position. And actually, the only thing they have to do now is hold this.
Yeah, and the team captain of France coming in first position, crossing the finish line. La Manoir in second. Safnis getting fourth. MCS Valentin Lisa third. And then we see L1, we know so well from the World Championship 2018 and 19, coming in sixth. So a good start for the French team. And that's...
Yeah, I'm back with you now, Thomas. A great start for the French team, and a really important result for La Mer Noire, who is an excellent sailor, but sometimes we see him get the jitters a little bit, get a little bit nervous. But a second place finish will settle those nerves. And, well, Sinjit, the French captain, leading from the front.
Yeah, and when we're saying Sinjit, amazing to see the team captain starting winning a race for the team. So let's hear more from him. And Alec, I have to say, I made an interview with him this evening, just 1.5 hours ago. And he had huge connection issues. So let's hope it's not the case for him tonight. And please welcome to Sinjit from France, the team captain of the French team. Sinjit, can you tell a little bit more about yourself? Because normally you are an anonymous person. We know you from the game, but we normally don't see you.
Yeah. So I'm Alexandre. I'm 32. I'm an amateur sailor, let's say, compared to some of the exceptional real sailors that are on virtual regatta inshore. I grew up in Marseille, south of France, and now I live in Paris. I'll try to sail still a bit on Grand Surprise and J80, mostly on Atlantic coast.
Sinjit, when you came into the Nations Cup, all other nations said that France was the favorite team because you have a very strong team with very, very strong individual players. So how was the seeding rounds for you guys?
Yeah, mixed feelings about the seeding round. So we hope to do better. The top 3 would have been nice to be qualified directly for the quarterfinal. But yeah, I mean, as a team, we did not perform so well. I think we tried maybe too much and ended up with some very bad results that really took us down the rankings. So, but it's behind us now, and we still have four matches now to win the Nations Cup. So that's what we're trying to do. We'll try to do one round after the other. First, there's the Japanese, which is a very strong team. So, we need to focus on that and see what happens. But we're definitely in a let's say we trained a lot and we're in a good spirit to take the fight to the Japanese.
Sinjit, how has you as a captain prepared your team for tonight against the Japanese?
So yeah, I think we tried to practice as best as we could on the different formats. Also taking advantage of the say the preferences of boats and formats from the different team members, taking advantage in the experience that some of the team members have in team race to really share their experience and tips with the others. So really training, bring up the spirit as a team. So I think we come in prepared, and we really need to focus as much as we can and try to do our best race after race.
As a team captain for a team like the French team, with so good players and so many top players, what has the hardest task for you been?
I think it's not so hard. I mean, trying to, I think it's to the players or what. I think I mean everybody's very trying to be as available as possible, trying to help each other on where they might be more knowledgeable. So I must say, I don't know, we didn't face I didn't face too many difficulties, I feel. Maybe some to find open for free time, of course, for everyone. That's always a challenge, but everybody's really trying to help each other. So I think the spirit in the team is very good.
Sinjin, all the best of luck tonight, and looking forward
Thank you.
to see you in action.
Yeah, we look forward to be there too.
Well, they've been practicing their teamwork, have the French, but no teamwork involved in this. This is a straightforward match race between the two female players in each of the teams. So representing Japan will be Seamanship, and representing France will be Law, EVC. And this is a straightforward match race in the star class. So a much slower but possibly more tactical race, really, than the one we saw just now in the 49er. 30 seconds to go, and it's all about trying to dominate the other sailor. Seamanship, fairly relatively experienced, and one of the the first woman to win a podium finish in a national championship. She got the bronze at the Japanese national championship, so she's really a quality player, as is the French Law. But right now, Law has the upper hand, but Japan starts on this on the right of her as they head upwind. It's the usual format: 4 legs, 2 upwind, 2 downwind.
Yeah, and we see Seamanship actually going away from Law, going to the right-hand side. And Cube, you might actually agree with me. Why didn't she just continue pressing Law to the left-hand side?
Well, this way she opens up the race, and it gives her the opportunity to sail as far as possible upwind before actually getting a chance to being covered or to have problems with penalties.
Yeah, and there we see the tack coming in. Law reacts straight away. Seamanship now in control when they're coming up to the top mark. And Alec, they need to do an extra tack, a double tack as we call it, when they're rounding the top mark up there. So Seamanship is actually in control and can pressure Law outside of the ley line and beyond the mark up there.
Well, we might see Seamanship forcing Law further and further left to make the double tack into the mark more complicated for her. And we're going to see a tack now from Seamanship.
She's pressing, see there, pressing Law all the way out. Law losing momentum and doesn't get the turn right. That's very beautiful played by Seamanship. And Law actually also making great maneuvering, but losing momentum. This is giving Seamanship a small advantage when they're going downwind. And remember, Alec, the wind shadow of these boats are quite big. You have the right number for that. So it's all about capturing the boat in front of you in wind shadow. Is Laura up to that?
Yeah, well, 33 meters is the wind shadow, so she's not there yet. She needs to close the gap on the Japanese sailor first. But we've seen in other round 1 races that the chasing boat does have the advantage on the downwind if they can get close enough. And really, the difference is extraordinary when they manage to affect the boat in front with their dirty breeze. You see them. Well, it's a 2-knot effect as they accelerate away. But right now, Seamanship has done it all right. She's got the advantage, and she's at the bottom gate first with, well, let's just see when Law completes this rounding what the distance is between them. So 60-odd meters.
Yeah.
That's a lot for her to cut down. Yeah. And this upwind leg is going to be crucial, isn't it, Thomas? Because she's got to get within that wind shadow distance of Seamanship.
Yeah, and one thing she's doing now, she's sailing into the wind shadow of the Japanese boat. You can see it slightly here. It's wide, so we tried to see it. So when you get into the wind shadow, you're losing 0.1 to 0.3 knots in speed. So she keeps herself there, but she needs to try to follow Seamanship. But I have to say, that maneuvering at the first top mark was brilliant by Seamanship. But, Alec, we saw in the two others female match races, the two last we saw. Then we saw the last downwind leg. It was like the wind disappeared. So how will the wind unfold today? And will Laurie have a chance to capture Seamanship? That is the big question here.
Yeah, I mean, the race isn't over. We've seen the wind disappear a few times, and that's made a huge difference. And we've seen boats come from behind.
But it looks great for Japan here.
It does.
Seamanship, actually, that's quite really good racing. But what to expect by a bronze medal winner after Japanese championship, where Laura is more an unwritten letter for us on eSailing TV. And we need to go up in the top view here. Let's see the wind shadow. Can you see, Alec, the white? It's just hitting Seamanship. But I think it's too far away. Let's see here, 6.6. 6.5, so she's capturing a little bit on Seamanship, but see that finish line getting closer and closer.
Unless the wind disappears suddenly and immediately, then I think the race is going to be Seamanship's, and it's going to equal the score to 1-1. A really good tactical battle on the first upwind leg. And Cube, if I can bring you in, I just wonder really if there was anything Law could have done.
Well, I think, and the people watching at home will actually be able to go back to that moment. On the first downwind, we could see that Laure made a sudden movement, and she went up very quickly in order to put her wind shadow on top of Seamanship. But I think just because she moved sideways so much, she actually lost more than she gained from that maneuver, and that might be just the difference between having wind shadow or not.
So Japan won, France won. We're back where we started 2 races ago.
And Alec, you just said it. Let's hear it again, because there was a small cut. Japan won, France won. Now we are settled 1-1. And I actually think this is going to be a very, very close battle tonight, Alec, because we saw the more unproved Russians against the routine Dutchmen yesterday, and there the Dutchmen actually dominated most of the race. But here we can see both nations has really been practicing hard time.
So this is the 5th round 1 race. 2 of them have gone to the last race, to race 9, which none of us ever imagined would happen. And on paper, seeded 8 and 9, Japan and France, the quality on both sides, this could also go to the very last race. We shall see.
Yeah, and special, after been interviewing both teams and talking with them and studying them, see how much active they have been up to this game, up to this regatta. Then I have to say the Japanese has really been practicing, knowing they're coming as an underdog. And as Vegas said, some of us has only been playing the game for 5 months, where the French comes in with a lot of skills, a lot of routine, and been playing for years. So interesting how this will unfold.
Well, But we'll see if they can bring that together. Now, the next race is the laser, and it's 5 against 5. And we're going to see lots of team strategy and tactics, or at least we should, if past races are anything to go by.
Yeah, and if you're interested in this game and watching it for the first time, then you can join in and play for free here. And Alec, race number 3 coming up. 5v5 the laser. It has been surprisingly one of the most exciting races we have in this format. And a very important point for both teams.
Yeah, yes, and it's at that point in the regatta where you really want to start trying to get ahead. So it's an important race, and the strategy will become clear as once they get over that start line. So KGR, TK30623, Vegas, Sean Bond, and Seamanship representing Japan. So Seamanship coming straight from her win in the previous race. And then we've got Wins 98, Pepito, Law, Sinjid, and Valentine Lisa, who's already just picked up a penalty representing France. Yeah. So already a lot of aggression happening in the pre-start, but those penalties will clear as the clock ticks down, and they are go with a couple of the French boats coming from the other side of the start line, going downwind. And Valentine Lisa, obviously over the line early, he got his start all wrong and has had to start again. So disaster for him.
Yeah, and Alec, quite interesting to see the French team they have selected here. Pepito, Wins, Sinjid, and Valentine Lisa is actually part of one of these so-called esport organizations. So they are in the same esport organization, so they should be able to know each other quite well. And then they have brought in Laura, the female player also in this game. But can those 4 players really play that well together? Valentine Lisa with a very unlucky start, and he just qualified to the World Championship. Pepito just qualified to the World Championship. Sinjid and Wins, routine players and team captains.
Yeah, I was trying to work out, though, what Valentine Lisa was doing. I couldn't work out if he was trying this kind of newfangled way of starting downwind and then just getting back into the start box just before 0 so that you've got a bit of speed. And then, do you know what I mean? You often see Bart Lambrex do that with some success, or whether he just got it all wrong. And that's why, you know, he had to start again. Anyway, the point is he's back in 9th. So whatever his motives, it didn't work. Yeah. KGR taking on, who's that? Wins 98.
Yeah, and it's quite interesting. Here we just saw what we call an esport move. And Cube, what is the purpose of sailing downwind against another boat?
So, well, the purpose of that is that in this game, once you're on the good tack, so that's once you're on starboard, you can actually alternate your course and then just go straight into someone else, just sail straight into them, and that will give them a penalty.
I'm going to jump in, Cube, because that's a really important moment as the 2 Japanese take the lead. Look at the penalties. It's Armageddon at the top mark. Sinjid and KGR and Law and Vegas all picking up penalties. as they came in all at the same time with some really aggressive moves.
Yeah, and it looks like the Japanese are getting a gap. Sean Bourne and TK 3623 is only having Pepito against them, because right now Cynthia is under pressure by KGR. Seamanship is attacking Pepito, and Valentin Lisa wants to save Pepito from the attack from Seamanship. So quite interesting battle. And again, Alec, we're playing with points. It's all about getting as less points as possible. And maybe we could have the race officer Cube to tell us a little bit. So if you get first, second, and fifth, and no matter the two last positions, then you will win the race. And right now, the Japanese are first, second, and fourth. So it doesn't matter where KGR and Vegas is. Then the Japanese can actually win this race. So quite interesting battle. So we need to follow the battle with seamanship a lot. See Cynthia trying to attack her.
Yeah, difficult to say at this point who has the advantage, but that third, fourth, and fifth place for the French is very important for them. And Law's job now, just as is Vegas, their jobs now are to try and move up the fleet, to overtake. And it's early days in this race, but the battle at the back is as important, if not more important, than the battle at the front right now.
Yeah, and it's not about winning. Normally we say in these games, and when we're playing sailing events like this, it's about winning. But here there is 55 points in total. So then you can do the math. So if you have less than 27 points on the team, then you will win this race. And Alec, fast calculation.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do.
I can say to you that Japan has 25 points at the moment, so they are in the lead and now improving. So the French team are in trouble at the moment.
And they're in the lead because Vegas has managed to move up the fleet. Seamanship now needs to be careful not to drop too far back. But right now, they are coming up to this mark once again. And it is still TK30 out in front with Sean Bond just on the tail. Yeah. Pepito and Sinjid. Now, Pepito and Sinjid need to stay in touch with the leaders, but at some point, the French at the back are going to have to go on the attack to try and move up through the fleet.
Yeah, and Laurie just loses the female versus female to seamanship. She actually captured Laurie outside of the mark again and pushing her to 10th. And that's a very, very important position for the Japanese, that Laurie is in 10th. Then we can see Vegas and KGR only have one thing they need to do. Make sure Wins is not coming up, because Valentin Lisa is under trouble by seamanship. And he wants to push seamanship to 10th. And now it's succeeded. But it looks hard for the French team right now.
The Japanese have done everything right so far,
but
Pepito's moved up a place now, and things might change in the last few meters of this race, with Pepito out in front, TK30 trying to catch him, Sean Bond also in there in 30, and Sinjid, the captain, will take fourth place, but the victory goes to Pepito. Then it's Japan, second and third. Fourth goes to France.
Yeah, and now this is very important, Alec, because right now the Japanese team has 27 points, are losing. KGR needs to win the battle against Win. Seamanship needs to win over Valentin Lisa. So this is where it's going to be ended. Seamanship versus Valentin Lisa goes on the inside. Great move. Valentin Lisa in trouble, but he's still in 10th. She's still in 10th. Weesh, Alec. I think that might be where the difference is. But we need a confirmation from Cube and the mathematics there.
What a finish. Terrific stuff. A real battle all the way to the end. That's why this format is so exciting. We thought for much of the race that the Japanese were going to get the point, but it doesn't look like they have. It finished 27-28.
And according to our calculation, it is the Japanese winning with 1 point.
The Japanese just sneaked it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Japan win it. So it's Japan 2, France 1. And who'd have thought it? It was so close. It was Japan 27, France 28, according to the race officer.
Yeah, and let's just see where this was win and loss, because it's 1 point, Alec. Where is this won and lost? Actually, I have to say, Pepito did everything he could to win points. So, but it was not enough for them to win it. Even if Seamanship got 10th and Valentin Lisa won that battle, then the battle Lorie needs to win over KGR was where this was won. And then we had a battle actually, Vegas versus Wins, where Vegas won it downwind. So that's why the Japanese won. Great race, great stuff. 2-1 to Japan.
Great stuff, wasn't it? And it just goes to show how important your team strategy is. And we've seen in that particular laser race, we've seen players in other regattas kind of match off each one against each one and have their own sort of individual battles. But this was a battle far more spread out, and they seem to be kind of reacting to the moment rather than going in with a specific strategy.
But before we're going online, Alec, on air today, we were speaking about amazing to see what will happen in between these two nations, because one of the nations are the best of the best in eSailing inshore, and the other one is hardworking and focusing on the details. And right now, it looks like the Japanese going into it, but I have to say, there's 6 races left, so it's all open. We can't tell what's going on, but one thing I can say is the next race that's coming up is going to be much faster with more speed.
The F50, and it's 3 against 3. A lot easier to follow from a spectator's point of view because we've only got 6 boats in a very small course. The boundaries keep the action close together, forces the boats, the skippers to maneuver, and it's over like that. So don't blink, you might miss it.
And Alec, here we are in game getting ready for the next race. And right now it looks like we're losing a French player. And again, as I said, we had a speaking with Sinjit. We had an interview with him earlier tonight. And there we had really some connection issues in France at the moment. So is that also going to make an impact on them? We don't hope so, but see that field we have here. La Manoir, The Mob, Savnis, against three Japanese players I haven't seen much to. I have seen Pauline before. That's it.
Yeah, Pauline, Japan 37, and green peas is what that says, as I'm sure you could read, Thomas. Yeah. The name of number 6, green peas. Well, hopefully he's eaten his greens and he's feeling energized and he's feeling fit and he's feeling ready. They're going to have to be focused. Because in La Mer Noire, they've got a really experienced opponent. And what we're going to see in about 10 seconds is that they start to power up. They start heading for that start line. A bit of a battle going on closest to us on the boundary with the French the Japanese trying to control this French boat. But now they accelerate away. It's a reaching start, and then they go downwind. And they'll be hitting maximum speeds as they cross that start line.
And it looks like a good start for the French. See, Alec, it's well timed. The Japanese are behind. La Manoir covering them up. Oh, but a lot of things can happen in this boat. Savnis.
Yep. So a good start for the French. Savnis takes that mark first. Here comes La Mer Noire on the outside. Penalty, though, for green peas. He was pushing his luck and slows down, but the Mab goes ahead. So it's France, first, second, and third.
Yeah, and I have to say, these 3 French players, their level in the F50 is so high. La Manoir has been at the World Championship 2 times, Alec, 2 times. And they have all been in top 20, I have to say top 30, in almost every SailGP qualifier event. But it looks like the Japanese are ready to fight back. Here, friendly fire might come in. No, green peas attacks away. And Pauline is in trouble. See, how that boat is tacking and tacking and tacking. And Cube, every time they tack in this boat, what happens then?
Yeah, so every time they attack, they lose a lot of ground, they lose a lot of speed. And France right now is really in their comfort zone with this 1-2-3 position. This means they can just like give up the third place, and this means that La Mer Noire has well, he actually can do whatever he wants, so he can bear away, start penalizing boats, and this gives them a very good position to win this race.
And that's what we're seeing
here being covered by, who's that?
Pauline.
It was that Japanese boat, but he had the right of way, Pauline 3. So it's still France in the top 3, as you've said, really experienced in the EF50. But for Pauline, you know, she's struggling to control the boat. These are very, very fast boats. I always liken them to getting on a thoroughbred, a racehorse. They're skittish, they're sort of nervous, they're agitated, difficult to control. But when you dominate them, when you've understood how to sail the boat, they're so fast, so much fun. But right now, Pauline 3 probably doesn't have the experience she needs to be able to do anything with this. And France are certainly dominant, and they're looking in a very good position. La Mer Noire, now, Cube might be able to answer this. Has he dropped back to cover the 2 Japanese boats just to make sure that they don't suddenly find breeze and catch the leading boats?
Yeah, that might be the case. I mean, we saw in the upwind that La Mer Noire bared away to penalize.
Oh, he catch a penalty. That's actually important.
Oh, so an unforced error from La Mer Noire, and that slows him down. But in a way, that just puts him in an even better position to cover the 2 Japanese boats behind him.
Yeah, the battle here, Alec, is the Marp versus Japan, 37-17 here. Is he capable of coming in and do something with the Marp and the last upwind leg? Then we might have a battle, or else it looks hard. See, La Mer Noire slows down. He actually slowing down to cover the Japanese boats. So
yeah, Pauline 3. It's a girl's name, but I'm being told it's actually Yuichiro Honda. So I'm going to switch to calling him a he. sorry, Yuichiro. But Pauline, boy or girl, he needs to do something at the back. He needs to somehow try and take advantage of La Mer Noire slowing down, trying to get ahead.
Yeah, but remember, Alec, there's if you count the points up there, there's 21 points. So if you get less than 11 points, then you're winning the race. And right now, first and second, then it doesn't matter where La Mer Noire is at the moment. So this is going to be a clear victory for the French in the 3 versus 3 F50 reaching start. It's only a disconnection that can win it.
And this is where we've talked about the difference in experience between the 2 teams. And it's not just about having some experienced sailors, it's about a depth of experience. And that's what the French have. They've got so many top experienced players that it means that they can put in a really solid, confident player into every one of these 9 races in these different boats. So France have taken first and second. Got a Japanese crossing the line now, and La Mer Noire will come in as the 3rd French boat, and then it's Japan 5th and 6th. Victory.
Yeah, like and here, as you said, we see the difference from the Japanese and the French team. The French team can keep on putting in players. They need to have different players in each race. There's rules for how they need to organize this, and they can keep pushing top players in, where the Japanese has quite some unproved players, and we just saw that in this race here.
Yeah, there are going to be some races. I mean, if I was the Japanese captain, I'd have looked at my list of players and I'd have said, right, where are we strongest? Let's make sure we win those races, and then for the other races, we just have to hope in a little bit of luck.
Yeah, and one of those races, actually, I don't think luck. I think also skill. And one of those races coming in now is the 2 versus 2 certified players, or if you're not having any certified players on your team, then the 2 highest position player in your championship. And that's going to be a battle of giants, Alec. They are ready here, so let's go in and see it.
It will be a huge battle. It's in the J70, and we're going to see La Mer Noire, 2 times World Championship finalist, and L1, very first World Championship champion, up against KGR and Sean Bond, who, well, it's the Japanese national champion, and Sean Bond, who's hugely experienced. So this is a race where they really do go head to head, and we could see the Japanese going ahead overall against the French, but the French will expect to win this, I think. The rest of the team will expect La Mer Noire and L1 to take this, and it's lining up already as a sort of double match race here.
Yeah, and Sean Bourne, we need to keep an eye on him because he has been part of the international community with the top 50 players, now the top 100 players in the world. And there he actually had some big results, winning a lot of these fleet regattas they're having. So he knows La Mer Noire and L1 quite well. Start goes on. Clean start for all of them, but the French teams are on the inside.
L1 peeling off, heading off to the right-hand side.
Yeah, maybe we should bring in Cube and talk about why L1 is going away from the battle. Yeah, I can see La Mer Noire is covering KGR and Sean Bourne, but why place L1 up there?
Yeah, L1 was caught a bit in the wind shadow of, I think it was Sean Bond on the far left side. Yeah, that's Sean Bond. So La Mer Noire was being slowed down by him. And as you said, as La Mer Noire has the insight on the 2 Japanese boats, L1 had some space to tack away.
Yeah. And there we see KGR going behind La Mer Noire in front of L1. That's a good move by him. So now he's actually control of L1 and La Mer Noire at the same time. But Alec, this is one of the races that can be tie.
It is. We'll have a look at that closer to the finish, I think, before we worry too much about the rules of what happens when it is drawn. Sean Bond, closest to us, was right on the ley line, but he's lost his direction slightly. But yeah, I mean, it's a difficult one to call, isn't it? In these early stages, La Mer Noire just ahead, but KGR in a good position.
But this is a beautiful upwind battle they're having here. L1 covered by KGR. La Mer Noire covers Sean Bourne, but he's on the inside. And then let's talk about the mark roundings, because now we can see a classic example. Sean Bourne goes from port side into the mark rounding zone, rounds it. La Mer Noire comes from a starboard. If he doesn't change course when he goes in there and hits Sean Bourne, then Sean Bourne will get penalized. But if he's maneuvering and changing course in there, then it's the boats coming from the inside that has to ride away. And that is the rules of the game at the moment. Sean Bourne in the lead, La Mer Noire in second, KGR and L1.
Yeah, interesting, fascinating. I mean, we're going to see the overall, not the lead of the race, but we're going to see the point really changing. The victory in this race is going to be changing with every overtake. So Japan, first and third, that gives them 4 points. So they have the advantage right now.
Right now, they're actually playing it good because L1 is last. So if La Mer Noire wins and L1 keeps being last, then Japanese win. So instead of focus of winning, KGR needs to focus on having L1 losing. And that's the amazing thing here. Mark rounding coming up. Sean Bourne first, La Mer Noire second. Penalty to L1. And also Sean Bourne, so a double penalty at the same time.
Tight.
But it's a huge battle. It's a huge
So
gap.
tight coming around that mark. L1 picking up the penalty. And no one wanted to give any sort of room, did they? Sean Bond, hugely experienced in eSailing. Katsuji Imamura is Sean Bond's real name.
And Lamanoir just won an important battle against Sean Bourne here, penalizing him and putting him to 4th position. So now KGR needs to do something with L1 up there. He needs to put on the swords and attack L1 and make sure he drops to 4th, or he needs to do a wall block, a wind block, preventing L1 to go too far away from Sean Bourne. They don't care about Lamanoir if he sneaks away and win it. It's all about making the opposite team lose this race. And there.
Lamanoir round that mark. He should be clear and safe, but a good challenge from KGR, Japan's best player right now, and he inflicts a penalty on Lamanoir, and now suddenly everything has changed again. KGR is out in front. Lamanoir struggling with that penalty, and Sean Bond has closed the gap a bit.
But Alex, see how he's slowing down his boat. He's staying inside. He tried to make the French sail into him. See, he's slowing them down. He's making Sean Bond coming back in the race. Oh, Sean Bond could penalize L1 there. Now it's the Japanese taking decisions. Wow, what a change of game here. But it's the French in the lead at the moment. And Q, what do you think about this change here?
Yeah, very interesting and very close there at that top wind mark. I mean, L1, he was so close to getting a penalty, and right now here it is, the long-awaited penalty, which puts Japan now in a very favored position to win this downwind and win this race.
And they're coming in, Alex. Sean Bond covering Lamanoir, L1 last. Either they need to make Lamanoir win it, or Sean Bond needs to get 3rd. It's a very, very close. See, they're going after Lamanoir. Penalty, but Sean Bond gets a penalty to sell into KPR. So a double penalty. I can't call it now, Alec.
Impossible to call. The positions you do not want to be in are 1st and 4th, because then it's a draw and you will lose.
L1 with another one.
That's what they're trying to avoid.
With a penalty. KPR is killing them all.
L1 with the penalty. And now KGR comes into the finish line.
They're winning it.
1 and 2 for Japan. Victory for the Japanese. 2-2.
And that's giving it a 3-2 lead to the Japanese team. And what a finish. Alec, what a finish there. Amazing finish. And I can say to you, we have all you viewers out there on all the channels live with us. And I can say to you, the chat is going amok right now. People are writing each other, what a finish, drama, whoa. But it's 3-2 to Japan.
It was real drama. We promised you drama. We said the strategy and the tactics in this particular J70 boat were going to be fascinating, and they were all the way to the end. And it's not so much, it's not just, I should say, it's not just, speed of fingers and speed of movement on the boat, but it's also speed of mind, trying to work out what to do next, which position you want to be in, and the tactics to use. Fascinating stuff. Well done to all 4 players.
Yeah, and I have to think, the Japanese choose to play 5 in the morning, Alec. 5 in the morning, and let the French play late night, been out all day. That might also be a tactical genius from them, but that's how it is. And Alec, from 2 versus 2, we go now into the 2 strongest players from each team. We're going into a mano-mano battle.
It's another match race, and it's in the star class. And we'll see. We'll see how this one pans out. But right now, Japan have the upper hand. It's Japan 3, France 2.
And Alec, we are going to see MCS Pepito, also known under the name Tim Carpentier, qualified to the World Championship this year. He's going to play the final within the next month. Then we have KGR, the winner of the Japanese Championship, and they are going to battling each other.
It's going to be a really interesting battle. They're already going at each other, aren't they? This cat and mouse battle to try and get the upper hand, to get in the position they want. I think the Frenchman is where he wants to be right now. He's holding off the Japanese boat. KGR, the best Japanese player right now, Japanese champion, against Pepito of France, who is highly ranked within French eSailing. And Pepito's away soon. He's away first. KGR right behind him now.
But a slow start for KGR. And Cube, is that a good decision by him against a top player like Pepito?
Yeah, well, I think he made some wrong calculations there, and by doing that tack right at the end, he actually lost some time and lost a lot of speed, and that might be one of the reasons why he's come over so slow and so late.
And right now, Alec, we are seeing them sailing to the right-hand side. KGR, he is here. Pepito getting closer to him. See, changing the angle to get a little bit more speed and get close to KGR to cover him. But that's dangerous because KGR, he can actually tack now towards the mark and penalize Pepito, but only if he manages to keep the boat steady.
So he's going to try. He's going to want to start to tack now and move back in and head towards that top mark.
Oh, there we go. KGR, he's cold. He's giving himself time. He's in a good position. And now you can see they're changing angle of the boats. They're not sailing with best VMG, the best possible angle, with the best possible speed towards the top mark. No, they're sailing with a much stronger angle, sailing a longer distance, but they're getting much more speed into it. And there we go, KGR and Pepito coming in. And Cube, is that a good move from Pepito, or it's a strong move by KGR?
Well, it was quite strange from Pepito to bear away on the other leg, because, well, he wasn't clearly in the lead, and he actually lost quite a lot of distance by doing that.
Yeah.
So I think right now this is the only option he can do.
But it's interesting what's going on here, because this is going to be a downwind battle of the Giants. Pepito in the lead, but KGR just behind him. And downwind Cube, he can control this one. So.
Yeah, so Pepito out in front. But as you say, it's downwind in the start. We'll see an acceleration from KGR now.
Yeah, and what we see here right now, Alec, is that Pepito, KGR, is sailed into very light wind. The wind disappeared. They are almost side by side, and a small mistake means a lot. But they are so far away from the gate mark that a penalty won't inflict that much, but 2 penalties might lose a lot of distance to the other boat.
Yeah, it's they're just cat and mouse fighting, chasing each other all the way down this leg.
And let's try to see it from the top. Then you can see how close they are to each other. KGR just behind Pepito. He wants to get closer. He can penalize Pepito now. And Cube, can you do it? Our race officer is so focused on the game right now. Yeah. So Pepito here.
What I'm interested. Well, let's just watch them come into this gate, and then I'm going to ask you about sort of game views and how to watch the game. But right now, are they taking opposite marks?
It's a split.
Yes, they are. And is this going to be a split? It is. KGR, Toshiki Kogure goes to the right, and Pepito goes to the left. They've decided they're going to have to try different tactics. So they've gone their own way. And what I was going to ask you, Thomas, was the players have different ways of, they have an option of different views when competing.
Yeah, most of the players that are in a top level, they play in this 2D mode, because then they can see a windsock. We can't see it here in front of the boat, and then they really can see how close the opponent are and when to do the move. That's the normal for the top players. Then they have the 3D mode, is this one, but then they are watching it from inside of their boat and not as us from outside of the boat. And we have a third one, the chopper view also, when there's a large fleet coming in.
And let's have a look at the chopper view now as they come into the top mark for the last time and start to head downwind for the finish line. Let's have a look who's got the advantage. Pepito's on the inside. He's going to reach that mark first ahead of KGR, but there's very little in it. It is so close. Pepito maneuvers. He's round. Now, can KGR close this gap? The important thing is he rounds these marks clear, and then he can get, if he can get close enough to Pepito, he might be able to accelerate past.
Yeah, and Cube, I want to bring you in. I saw that Pepito pressured KGR away from the top mark when they came to the first top mark, trying to win some meters. But he's in a bad position now, isn't he?
Well, yeah, it's still very open, and the thing about this is that now you're in a position, and Pepito is putting himself in a position where one mistake is so deadly. So it's really dangerous for both players.
Oof, that was too early. That was too early, KGR. Oof, Cube, was it too early for him to tack down to drive downwind there?
Well, he's still having that speed, to be honest, and it looks like, well, there is still overlap. So for Pepito, there's still an opportunity to luff up and just penalize KGR, but he's not doing that, and it's very slow.
He's done it just as you said it, Cube. He's done it. He wiggled his backside and he inflicted that penalty, and now he's away and he heads towards the finish line. And that is, I think, the deciding maneuver. Just a few meters left, both heading towards the finish line. But it's going to be KGR who seals the win and makes it Japan 4, France 2.
And I'm surprised, Alec, because this is just showing how much serious the Japanese has been practicing, winning such a victory over Pepito. Way to go, way to go. And we are just jumping in studio because as the players sometimes have some connection issues, we can also have connection issues in studio. But Alec, you're still with me there, I know.
I'm still here. I'm still here. Yes, I am.
Yeah, you're still there.
I can hear you all loud and clear. And I'm more to the point, I can see these games. And that was a fascinating race, wasn't it? And gosh, going into it, yes, you know, KGR is one of the best, is the best in Japan, and he does have plenty of experience. But Carpentier or Pepito, you know, we've seen him in so many big event finals. I thought he was going to take this race, but really some fantastic maneuvers from the Japanese.
Yeah, and when we're saying that, Alec, we're going into another team race. Let's just have a slight review of the format before going into the next race, because there's only 3 rounds left. There's a match point for Japan, and they have a chance to go into the quarterfinals against Spain, and they have 3 match points, Alec, and here are the races they're going to race.
So last 3 races, we've got a J70 3x3, when it's 2 against 2 in the EF50. And if the previous race in the F50 is anything to go by, we'd expect a French win there. And then it's a free-for-all in the NACRA 17 with all 20 players going against each other. The French really need to take the next 2 to stay in it.
Yeah, and if the French takes the next 2, then it's more about the individual skill again when we're coming to race number 9, 10 versus 10, the NACRA 17. But Alec, next race, race number 6, are ready to go.
45 seconds to go then. So we have Seamanship, the Japanese female player, KGR, once again in action. And that other Japanese player there, who is Yutsuki. And then we have L1, Pepito, and wins 98 for France. So it's 3 against 3 in the J70.
But I'm quite amazed by Seamanship. I have to say, I'm falling in love. I'm falling eSailing in love here. That's the female player playing the most game for a team ever in the Nations Cup.
Yeah, and she's taken no prisoners so far. She has really proved her worth in this regatta.
Wow, what a team start, Alec.
Team start with the... Yeah, absolutely. Deciding to go opposite ways. The French coming off to the right, but now one of the French peels off and comes to cover the Japanese fleet.
Yeah, to see the Japanese attacking L1, covering him, giving him bad air. What a start. Sorry, I'm all amazed that we had this start. And Cube, was this brilliant, or was that more luck?
Well, the start itself was certainly brilliant. I think the only miscommunication they had probably was that two of the Japanese both tacked at the same time, probably to say, let's cover L1, and both had the same idea at the same time, but they managed to get out of it very smartly, and now they're still in a comfortable position here.
A cross between those two, and it was clean, no penalties handed out. But again, I think we're in for a really exciting strategic race, Thomas.
We are. And I have to say, it's a match point for Japan, so they will do everything to win this race. And if France is losing, they are out of the E-Nations Cup. So they will battling everything for their honor. So the ball is open, Alec. The battle is up. And if this was battleships, I might see the biggest cannon ever. And that's also what we're seeing this race. Pepito, L1 wins, Seamanship, KGR, and Yusu.
So some of the biggest names in the French team competing here in this race, trying to keep their nation in the Nations Cup. And if France go out in round one of this eSailing Nations Cup, it'll be the biggest upset in eSailing that we've seen in a very long time.
Yeah, and Cube, right now it looks like the French actually conquered back their positions, first and second. Then it doesn't matter which other position they have. What can the Japanese do now?
Yeah, no, you're right. They're very comfortable now, and the handy thing about the Japanese guys is that they're so close to each other, so they can actually put a sort of a wall of wind shadow on the downwind, and this will create a big speed boost for them actually, and will slow down the two French guys in the front, and maybe this will give them the opportunity to come back and get back the upper hand in this race.
So a wind block, Alec, is coming in. We have so many new terms in esport that we're not normally using in sailing. Wind block, wind wall, and this time we'll see a huge wind shadow on Pepito, and he will be pressured. But it looks like winds can sneak away. Pepito slowing down.
Yeah, he is slowing down. Winds 98 is away indeed, but we've got Japanese in third, fourth, and fifth. They always look ready and poised, and I wonder if the third and fourth placed sailor for Japan are going to try and get ahead. And he's trying to put a penalty on Pepito, but it didn't work. And I wonder if let's have a look. KGR is hanging back to try and inflict penalties and delay L1.
He is.
There we go. Then it worked.
Yeah.
So first blood to KGR against L1.
And see, Pepito is so focused on battling Yusu that he's going so far away from the fleet that right now a penalty to L1 or Pepito can switch this point to Japan. Whoosh. It's not over. It's all open.
This is a real battle, hand to hand, boat to boat, and they've paired off now. Some on the left. Here we go. Pepito and Yutsuki, and now L1 coming in from that right-hand side.
This is
maneuvering on the ley line with KGR just to his left.
I have to say, I've been seeing a lot of pirate movies. Will the Japanese pirate actually take away the French Empire? And I think they are actually doing a great job right now. They had the first blood, and we're getting ready for second round in a few sec.
Yeah, but the French have the advantage on points. So at the moment, France dominate this race.
Yeah, but again, Alec, it's not about winning. It's not about winning. So, Cube, you will actually agree with me. It's not about winning. It's all about not losing right now.
Yeah, but the French have only got 8 points, right? 8 points at the moment. So they are well advantaged over the Japanese.
Yeah, exactly. So in this situation, France has the first place, which gives them a very big advantage. So then basically the rest of the race, well, it actually translates into the 2 other Frenchmen not finishing last. If they don't finish last, then they win this race.
Yeah, so Yutsuki now needs to get in front of the other 2 French boats. And if L1 and Pepito talking to each other in the chat room, if they're communicating, they should agree now to just fight the battle against Yutsuki at the back and make sure he finishes in 6th.
But the battle against L1 and KGR continues. So I have a focus on Pepito and seamanship and Yusu. And Alec, we got some Yususki. We have some news about him. What do we know about him? It's him that needs to come back in the race.
It is university student, and the only Japanese eSailing YouTuber he is. So if you want to know more about him, go to his YouTube channel, and he might even give you some of his top tips for eSailing. But right now, our top tip to him is that he needs to catch Pepito and get in front of him.
Yeah, or else his teammates need to do a wall block and make sure L1 and Pepito is slowed down so he can come back. And then we will see this very, very close ending again downwind. Because right now we see wins. He got the order from his teammates. Sail away, win this race. But is that a good order? I'm not sure. Seamanship might wait. She might slow down. Yeah, she's not slowing down. That might be KTR. Is slowing down. See there. Taking the sails out, waiting for the Frenchman. He's on the inside. He can penalize them. This is the esport part. Yusu coming in. So, and seamanship also waiting. Alec, the battle is on and wins are too far away. So 3 versus 2. And Cube, what will happen now? How will you play this downwind?
Yeah, so there is actually a double play going on. If the French guys get into the top 3, so if L1 or Pepito finish 3rd, then they win this game for sure. And if they don't get lost, they win as well. So for the Japanese guys, they have a double job to do. They can't let anyone get into that 3rd position, but they also need to fight and not get lost. So it's very interesting right now.
And Cube, that's very interesting. You're going to stay with me here because a lot of tactic is going to happen right now, and that's how it's going to be. Hey, what happened there? No, did Yusu lose connection? No, he took a chance. Oh,
yeah, that was a big love from Yusu, and he was probably heading for that penalty. He lost that penalty. And now they actually lost 3rd place as well. So this is a very, very difficult situation now for Japan because they can't let L1 sail away. And actually, that's exactly what they're doing. They're making the mistake with another penalty now. And this will make the difference. If L1 is sneaking away, and I think he does, then the only thing the Japanese guys can do now is actually send seamanship onto L1. But it might be too late already. And the finish line is only coming closer and closer for L1.
Yeah,
and giving him the 3rd place and the win for France.
Yeah, it's going to be the win for France. They don't have a chance here, and that's a great win for France. But they took a chance. The Japanese didn't give up, and they really tried their best. But it's going to be 3-4 with a Japanese lead at the moment. So first match point avoided by the French, but let's see how this will unfold in a few seconds.
So we're up to 4-3 now, aren't we? And that was a fascinating finish. And well, I missed, unfortunately, a crucial point, but I did get back on to I managed to get connection again to just watch the end, and it all changed with the French eventually being dominant.
Yeah, but actually, Alec, we experienced you have some issues with your connection tonight. We experienced the French guys, the French team, the team captain also had connection issues tonight. So maybe it's a bad night for Europe. There's another match point coming up for Japan, and it's going to be in a fast boat where they actually didn't perform last time. It's going to be 2 versus 2 in the F50.
Yeah, and you got to fancy France's chances in that. I'm just looking down to see who is going to be competing in that, because that's going to be crucial. So it's Enzo Ballinger and Sinjid, the French captain representing France. And then for Japan, it's going to be Sean Bond and Sohei Nippon. So again, the French putting in some of their really experienced sailors in the 50, and I think it's going to be tough for the Japanese to win this one.
And when we are saying tough, Alec, we have Enzo Ballinger and Sinjid versus Sean Bourne. And this white boat we see here is Sean Bourne. We can't see his name. And then he's playing with, again, another unwritten letter in eSailing for us. Sohei Nippon. Alec, what do we know about him?
Sohei Nippon. I know he loves running when he's not in front of his computer. And he's quite a musician as well. But what tune will the Japanese play strategically and tactically in this? Are they just going to try and get to the finish ahead of the French, or are they actually going to sort of pair off and attempt a match race against each of the French sailors? We shall see.
It's all up to the team captain from the French team and Enzo Ballinger to make sure the Japanese are not winning this and let it go into the last round. So, let's see how it go. And I can say to you, Sean Bourne, Enzo Ballinger,
penalty.
false start, slow start. Is this the end of the French hero in eSailing? Is the Japanese taking it? Another penalty to Sinjid, trying to penalize the French. No, what happened here, Alec? No, and then Nippo hitting the mark. It's still open. But what
so it's
a
penalties all
disastrous
round.
start.
Penalties all round. Only Sean Bond, who's actually marked as number 3 with a French flag at the moment, but is the Japanese Sean Bond. He has kept out of all this fighting, all these penalties, and he's gone off ahead. Sohei Nippon now coming in second place. So disastrous start for the French.
Yeah.
Exactly what we were not expecting. But the Japanese on the attack have come off best so far.
Yeah, but watching Sohei racing this, making this mark rounding, shows me that he's not a skilled F50 sailor at all. It's 2 big turns, and he has 2 top sailors, I have to say, right up behind him. And they're going to go after him. And he makes the classic mistake, in my opinion, and then we can discuss it with Cube afterwards, that he's trying to covering them up instead of just do the race. And Cube, what do you say to that?
Well, you're right, Thomas. You're absolutely right. This is the classic mistake, and a lot of people who don't sail the F50 very often make this mistake because they think they will speed up fast enough and they will get ahead. And now we see Sohei Nippon actually losing 2 places because of those stacks. So in my opinion, the only thing you can do in those situations is just stack right in front of of the French boat and giving the penalty because you can stay clear ahead. But yeah, he was stacking on top of him, and that just gives the opportunity for the French guys to sneak in
Mark
front
Grounding
and get
coming
away.
in. No, Sipo, no. There, he lost it for Japan. It's just switching around. He was on the inside. He could sail into Sinjit and penalize him. But then he chooses to tack away, go to the opposite side, lose 120 meters, Alec, in one turn.
So Nippon showing his inexperience there, but this is another one of those races where we can have a draw. And there's no point in Sean Bond winning this, because if Sohei Nippon finishes last, the Japan will lose this, because in these team races, the boats that are first and fourth are deemed to lose if it's a draw. It's just to encourage team orders and team racing. So Sean Bond now needs... Well,
Yeah, he
here
got
we go.
penalised.
He's now slowing... He's picked up a penalty,
Yeah.
and he now needs to fight back and somehow try and get Sohei Nippon back up in front of Sinjit. But
Yeah.
it's France first and second now, and Japan look out of it.
Yeah, Sean Bourne, he slowed down, and then he went to the wrong side and giving Enzo Ballinger a chance to come from starboard. And he's so experienced. He just did it, and then he penalized the Japanese team. Cube, wasn't it there where the Japanese lost this race, or was it the upmark turn, the top mark turn?
Yeah, this left gate that's coming in right now, Thomas. I mean, it's always very difficult to do those kind of things. But I'm just calling this a win for France. To be honest, if nothing happens, if they don't take any penalties, then this is game over. Look how far ahead Enzo Ballinger has got right now because of that wind shift. And the Japanese guys are coming back, but they need to come back quite a lot to win this race.
Yeah, the French had, well, look at this. Quite a close cross there between second and third. So
It's still
Sean Bond is
possible,
back
Sean
in
Bond.
it.
He's trying to penalize him. It's not over. We called it, and it's not over. People coming on the inside. Sean Bond doing great tactics. Yeah, penalty to Sinjin. I couldn't see why, but according to computer, he sailed into him. So it's going to be a battle down when Sean Bond still needs to help his teammate here. And Sean Bond on the wrong side now goes in front.
What do the commentators know? And now it's Enzo Ballinger out in front, Sean Bond in second, and Sohei Nippon again.
Slowing down. Sinjin captured in a Japanese burger. He's on the outside. Whoa!
And so
Penalty!
Enzo Ballinger now he can't do anything to help Sinjin because he's going to the finish line and he's crossed that finish line and he's won the race.
It's going to be a
And
race for the finish, Alec.
He's left the battle. He's left the battle all
No, he
to
turned around.
himself. But Sean Bond coming in, and so is Nippon. Oh goodness gracious!
What happened? What was we witness for there, Alec? What a race!
I don't know what happened because I covered my eyes.
That was... I'm out of word. Cube, what do you say to this race?
Well, guys, I think I'm stopping my career here as a beginner commentator because, well, definitely I cannot read the race, and this I didn't see it coming by far.
Well, I tell you what's happened. Japan have just knocked France out of the eSailing Nations Cup. That's extraordinary.
Alec, I'm still... What did we see?
So, Ballinger was about to win. He realised that his man was in trouble behind him. He turns around on the finish line and sails back to try and attack the Japanese. Gets it wrong, does it so fast, loses control, and the Japanese won it. First and second.
But what a game by Sean Bourne. First, Sinjit made a wrong tack at the top mark, giving Sean Bourne the chance to go in front of him. And then he slows down his boat, and Sinjit just slightly hits him and gets a penalty. And then he reacted by going to the right-hand side instead of left-hand side. And then we saw Nippon going with him. And I was just, no. There you lost it again, Japan. And then Sean Bourne managed to just go in front of Sinjin and make a Japanese burger. Or was it sushi? Oh, wow. I'm amazed, Alec. What a race.
I can't believe we've just seen France knocked out of the Nations Cup in the first round. I am speechless. One of the strongest e-sailing nations in the world, knocked out by Japan in the first round.
And I have to say, Spain, watch out. If Japan can do this against France, whoosh, what can they do against the Spanish Armada? The Japanese Pirates versus the Spanish Armada in the quarterfinal. It's going to be amazing. Alec, we're going into the next race, the last race, and that's more show-off now when Japan just won it on the finish line, but the French can still win the honor. Still studio.
So it's 10 against 10. The pressure's off. The win has gone. The regatta win has gone to Japan. They're through to the quarterfinals. But this is going to be a really fun race. It's a chance for France to play for pride. It's a chance for the Japanese to just have fun. It's 10 against 10. It's in the NACRA 17, so almost the second fastest boat in this regatta. It's going to be fun, and I always liken it to like some sort of battle in Star Wars, isn't it? With things flying around all over the place. It's going to be good.
Yeah, and Alec, one thing is for sure. I don't think the Japanese are going to just relax and let the French win, because we have seen in two other competitions in this Nations Cup that this race means everything. We have.
Yeah, I mean, yes, it means everything, but and in a way, because the pressure is off, the Japanese have won. They can just, by sailing for fun, the pressure's off. They may well go on and win this as well. But this is the difference between a final result of 6-3 to Japan or 6-4, which just sounds a lot better. So I think the French are really going to want to win this.
And I can say to you that the score up in the top is saying it all. 5-3 to Japan. And Alec, the NACRA 17, the Star Wars race, as we call it, or the TIE fighters, or who's coming in. But it's an individual game. It's all about top performing, because this race can be the winner takes it all in points in the other races that is coming up. So they really needs to focus on this race. Start is on.
Yep. We're off. Penalties to quite a few of the Japanese boats. They were over early or picked up penalties against the French boats, and split right across the start line with no preference seemingly for left or right. And the fleet now just jostling for position.
But it looks like the French are again showing why they are so good in e-sailing. They are individual good sailors, all of them. And again, from Japan, we only have Sean Bourne, seamanship, and KGR mixing around top 8. Rest of it is French sailors.
Yeah, French dominating this race, just as they did the first race of the regatta, which, like this, involved all the players, all 20 players, and that was dominated by the French. And they're doing the same now in this early stages of the Nacre race.
Yeah, here we have Tacitus, Alec. Tacitus, we talked about him before we're going into the race. And Alec, I think he has this name because he's very good in tactics. But
yes,
then you guys came on.
Or maybe he's a fan of the Roman leader. Depends, I suppose, where you stand, if you're an e-sailer or an historian. Anyway, here we go. Let's watch the sailing. Over on this left-hand side, we are with Seamanship, who has been the revelation of this regatta, the young female e-sailer from Japan. And now we know why she's the only woman to have ever won a medal in a national championship, because she is so good. And we'll see plenty more like that winning medals in the future. But right now, Seamanship showing her class, showing her abilities near the front of this fleet.
And massive friendly fire from the Japanese. It was Vegas, Tacitus and 0517. They tried to avoid sailing into each other, but in that maneuvering, they sailed into each other because they split it opposite each other and hit each other. Friendly fire coming in, but it's a French dominant up there. Top 5, it's French. Then we have the top 3 Japanese sailors, and then we have the French. So it looks like the 49er. So, Alec, what a
don't
performance.
say it. Don't say it's the French. That's what we did with the last race, and it all changed. So let's just not predict it this time. But right now, it is, as you say, France in the top 5, and the Japanese spread throughout the fleet, but also near the back of the fleet. There's a bunch of them as well. 2 more legs to go.
Yeah, and but Cube, you need to come in here in the last race here. The French, we know them quite well, and them putting themselves in the lead of this Nacre 17. Is that because of tactics, or it's because we haven't found the tactics yet, or it's because of individual skills?
Yeah, well, I think this shows a bit why the way we are talking about tonight's race, we are talking about the French as the very the very experienced guys, and the Japanese ones as the underdogs. And I think this is the reason why we do that, because exactly like you're saying, their individual skills are so good, and in fleet racing they just come out and they show who they really are. And this was something that we didn't see from the French guys in team racing, but right now we're seeing it again.
I want to find where Tacitus is, somewhere in the middle of the fleet, number 14, because someone's just messaged me on the chat saying that his hobbies are reading comics and building plastic models. Oh, that's fascinating. We need to get a photo of these plastic. What sort of plastic models?
I think it might be Warhammer with that name. Penalty to Sean Bourne sailing into the mob. KTR up there. Pepito with a penalty. And then we see Seamanship coming in. So the top 3 Japanese sailors. Again,
penalty for the leader as well.
Yeah.
Sinjid. He must have picked that up from one of his own players, unless he hit the mark.
He did it.
He did it.
No, he got a penalty from Enzo sailing into him. This time the captain is not allowed to win the race.
Okay. Enzo Ballinger, that disastrous EF50 race just now, is going to win this final race. And it's going to be France, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. And we can see the next 3 boats are all Japanese, including Seamanship in 6th. Sean Bond now coming in, but the victory is for France.
Yeah, but the victory of the race might not be for France, because opposite the 49er, we had a bunch of French sailors coming in, but now it's a bunch of Japanese, and we have some of the French sailors in the last positions. It's only Tacitus who's coming last. So, Alec, we have to wait for the race officers to do the math for us. But let's go in and see here the positions of this last race, race number 9 of today's Nations Cup. Wins, MCS wins, winning it. Enzo Ballinger in second, MCS Sinjit in third, the Marp in fourth. Then we have Seamanship, KGR and Sean Bourne, fifth, sixth and seven.
So France have won it. That's confirmed. It's official. France won that race, and by quite a margin as well. 92 points to 118. So France win that final race and end up with, yes, losing the regatta overall, going out of the Nations Cup. But in the end, it is a reputable 5-4 score in the end.
Alec, I came into studio today a little bit tired because this is because of a lot of top activities in eSailing. Day number 18 in a row, we are in the studio doing eSailing. And what a game we came into.
Well, look, every single one of these races has energized us because it has been fascinating. And even those that haven't gone right down to the wire. So 2 nights ago, we saw the Netherlands beating Russia, and they beat them 5-0. But the Russians then came back, and they couldn't win or equalize. But they put up such a fight, such a brave fight all the way to the end, that it was still a fascinating battle. So not a single one of the 5 round 1 regattas has disappointed. They have been fascinating. And I tell you what, the teams are so close. They're so pumped for this competition that I just cannot wait for the quarterfinals, the semi-finals, and who knows who is actually going to be in the final. It is impossible to call.
Special after this round 1, I'm also surprised at the level. And I have to say, what a great thinking from World Sailing, doing an event like this, eventing the E-Nations Cup, because this, I couldn't live without it. Great, great stuff. And Alec, the teams are now going to choose when to race next week. So we can tell that Monday morning when the teams are going to choose. And here we're going to see the top seeders. Let's just go into the format, then we can tell a little bit about that. And here we can see Spain is going to have the first right of choosing which day they want to play against Japan. So Japan, they might, if they not go into a deal. No, actually, Japan is having the first pick because they have the favorite right from being a nation country. So Spain loses their first round pick. So Japan can actually pick time and place to play against Spain.
Yeah, so it's going to be Spain against Japan, and then Denmark against Sweden in qualifier 2. Great Britain, I can update the graphic in front of you now verbally. It's Great Britain who are seeded 2 against 10th seeds Germany, and qualifier 4 will see 3rd seeds Italy against 6th seeds the Netherlands. And as you've said, tomorrow, the times and the dates of those quarterfinals will be decided by the teams, and we will distribute those on across our social media network. So you will know as soon as we do. But you know what? We haven't seen the top 3 seeds in action for over a week now, since they were seeded, and I wonder what they've been doing. They'll have been watching some of these games. They'll have been doing a bit of training, but are they match ready? They've been out of action for a week, and it's going to be interesting to see if those who've had to come through round 1 will actually be warmed up and more on the ball than the top 3 seeds. So we're going to see some upsets in those quarterfinals.
Alec, we will find out next week. Cheers out from tonight. Great stuff. Congratulations for Japan for making the first big surprise in the E-Nations Cup.